You know that feeling. The one where a single text or the absence of one can rewrite your entire afternoon. You replay what you said. You wonder what it meant. You start building a story about what they think of you. And then you see someone else get the same thing. A cold reply, a brush off, a silence. And they just don't react, not because they're numb, not because they don't care. Something else is happening inside them that isn't happening inside you. And once you understand what it is, you'll understand why being unbothered isn't a personality trait. It's a nervous system state, and it can be built. Here's what people get wrong about this. Unbothered doesn't mean cold. It doesn't mean checked out or emotionally unavailable. The people you admire for this quality, who move through conflict without catching it, they feel things. They feel them fully, they just don't hand control of their internal world to whoever's in the room. In 1954, psychologist Julian Rotter introduced a concept that explains why some people get destabilized and others don't. He called it locus of control. External locus means you believe important things are determined by forces outside you. Other people's moods, their approval, the outcome of situations you can't predict. Internal locus means you locate your stability inside yourself. Not because you control outcomes, but because you've stopped making your peace conditional on them. People with an external locus, often shaped in childhood, experience other people's behavior as a verdict. You know this moment. Somebody's in a mood and you're already trying to figure out what you did. Maybe nothing. Maybe it has nothing to do with you. But your body doesn't wait to find out. There's a reason some nervous systems are calibrated this way and others aren't. It starts before you were old enough to have an opinion. John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth found something that changes how you understand all of this. When your earliest attachment figure was reliable, your nervous system learned something foundational. The external world is survivable. I can return to myself after being disrupted. But when the adults around you were unpredictable, when their warmth could disappear without warning, your nervous system learned a different lesson. That lesson became automatic, unconscious, wired into your threat detection system before you had language to describe it. Stephen Porges, who developed polyvagal theory, gave us the neuroscience to understand what happens next. Your autonomic nervous system has 3 states. The one you want to be in is what Porges calls the ventral vagal state. It's the state of social engagement, creativity, genuine connection, regulated emotion. When something threatening appears, your system shifts, first into sympathetic activation, fight, flee, defend. Then, if that doesn't resolve it, into a collapsed, shut-down state. The person who grew up in an unpredictable environment has a hair trigger for that shift. A shorter runway between neutral and threat. Their nervous system was trained to scan constantly, to treat ambiguity as danger. That's not weakness, that's what survival looked like. Here's what nobody tells you about living in that heightened state. You get good at it. Incredibly good. You become fluent in other people's moods. You can read a room the moment you enter it. You can sense when something's wrong. You're sensitive in a way that can look like intuition. But here's the cost. You're spending most of your cognitive resources on them. Tracking their reactions, adjusting your behavior in real time, managing their comfort so that your own remains stable. You're not present, you're on patrol. And because you've wired your sense of safety to their response, you can't relax until they do. You can't be unbothered, because being bothered is what kept you safe. I know what you're thinking right now. But this is just who I am. Some people are more sensitive. I'm just wired this way. Yes, you are wired this way. That part is true, and wiring can change, not quickly, not through willpower, but through something more honest than that. Here's what genuine emotional non-reactivity looks like in real life. It doesn't look like not caring. It looks like being able to tolerate the uncertainty of not knowing what someone thinks of you, without immediately needing to resolve it. It looks like someone giving you a cold response, and your first thought being that's their weather, not mine. It looks like disagreeing with someone and not needing them to change their mind in order to feel okay. It looks like expressing something true about yourself and being able to hold that truth whether someone validates it or not. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, put it this way: some things are in our power, and some things are not. What's in our power? Our judgments, our intentions, our responses. What's not? Other people's moods, their opinions, their choices. The unbothered person, in ignoring the external world, they've just stopped letting it write their internal one. So, how do you build this? Not with affirmations. Not by deciding to care less. Both of those are band-aids. What actually changes the wiring is something researchers call co-regulation, and later, self-regulation. Your nervous system learns safety by experiencing it, repeatedly, in relationship with people or environments that are consistent, warm, and non-threatening. This is why therapy works when it works, not because of the techniques, but because of the relationship. A consistent, regulated presence teaches your nervous system it doesn't have to stay on patrol. But you don't need a therapist for this to begin. You can start with something smaller, something that sounds too simple but isn't. The next time something destabilizes you, a cold text, a disapproving look, a silence where warmth should be, pause before you interpret it. Just 3 seconds. That gap is where your prefrontal cortex can step back in, before your amygdala assigns meaning. You're not trying to convince yourself you don't care. You're buying yourself enough time to ask, is this actually about me? Do I know what this means? Does it change who I am? Usually, the answer to all three is no. That tolerance for uncertainty, for ambiguity, for someone's whether that isn't yours, that's what you're building. 1 3-second pause at a time. Being unbothered isn't about having less to feel. It's about having somewhere inside yourself to return to when the feeling comes. The people who seem unaffected by everything aren't different from you. They've just had more practice, or more luck in the environments that shaped them, at learning that their peace doesn't have to be contingent on someone else's behavior. That's not who you are yet. It doesn't have to be who you stay. Your nervous system is not a fixed document. It's a living system that updates based on what it repeatedly experiences. What it experienced early can be replaced with something different. If you want to understand why you react the way you do, the next video goes deeper into the attachment patterns that created it.